Hello, StarCraft fans! This is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another edition of Into the Void. Today it's going to be a matchup between Fantasy and Z-Man on Blackpink, the latter edition. In the top right-hand corner of the map, we've got the blue Terran player. It is Fantasy. And in the bottom left-hand corner, the red Zerg player, Z-Man. So, if this is your first time in Into the Void, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you here. It is my weekly examination of, not gold, but instead, bronze and silver league level replays sent to me at falconpaladin@gmail.com with the subject of Into the Void. I gather all of them. I send them to my screeners. The best ones are chosen, and the best ones are cast. We're here to learn. We're here to laugh. We're here to laugh with these players. We're here to help people learn how better to play the game of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, because heaven knows we could all use some help, myself included. It's good to watch these games and see mistakes that are made and recognize the mistakes that I make too. Even though I'm not an Into the Void player, I can still figure stuff out based on what is happening in these games. So it's a ZVT, which is probably the most popular matchup on the channel. Oh, also, let's see, I'm casting this on Tuesday of this week, and I'm about 5 subs away from hitting 20,000. So I hit 20,000, assuming I didn't go in the negatives, which is, I suppose, entirely possible. But 20,000 subs, that is a pretty darn good milestone. I'm pleased with it. I'm pleased by hitting officially the 20,000 mark. Anyway, thanks to everybody who has subbed. Those of you who've been here for the long time. I'm coming up on 3 years you guys are doing this. And those who are new, I love you all. I love you like my children's. So Z-Man went for a pool first play, and then promptly made a queen with it. But no Zerglings, which is going to be a problem. If you go pool first, you got to make some lings, either for defense or for aggression. These are some things you need to do if you go pool first. Also, you got to get some gas, or you need to expand. These are options you have. If you're looking for build orders, what things to make in the early stages of the game, and in what time, check it out at lotv.spawningtool.com. That's a good place to go to find fantastic build orders you can copy and improve your early game, because this makes no sense. I'm sorry, Z-Man. Again, if you sent this in and you're watching it, I love you. But if you're going to make a pool, you got to make an extractor with it, or you need to expand. You can do a gasless opening. I don't recommend it. You have to defend with slow Zerglings and queens for a while. Okay, he's expanding now. It's just late. It's just late. You'll notice he has 500 minerals right now. That's because this is late. And he doesn't have the ability to produce enough stuff to keep up with it. And he's just droning, man, which is cool. I mean, Z-Man, it looks like he was planning on being aggressive. Let's talk Terran for a second here. If you open up double barracks, that's an aggressive opening, Fantasy. It means it's either going to be Reaper, 1 Reaper out of each, or a bunch of Marines, and you're going to push across the map and try to kill your opponent. 2 Reaper opening, or 2 barracks opening defensive against Zerg doesn't make any sense. These guys are being friendly to each other. How's your life? Says Fantasy. Good, says Z-Man. And you? Because, Terran players, you can wall off. You can wall off against Zerg opponents that come and try to kill you in the early stages of the game, as you can see here. You go 1 racks into an expand. Again, check out lotv.spawningtool.com. It will help you immensely. The other thing is, if you're going double barracks opening into an expand, double gas opening just means you have a ton of gas. We have the exact opposites here. Z-Man is not taking his gas until now, which is super late. And Fantasy took his gas early and is doing absolutely nothing with it. Marines don't cost gas. Barracks don't cost gas. Command centers don't cost gas. If you're going to get this much gas, you better be going for some kind of a starport rush, where you go barracks, factory, starport, and get a Banshee with cloak. Or some kind of cyclone thing, factory with a reactor, double cyclone push, also good. But at this stage, that double gas that early just doesn't make any sense. At this point, all right, so if you want 1 racks expand, your expansion was done. You got your factory going. At that point, okay, we can see 2 gases. 2 gases make sense. But again, just find a build order. Find a build order that looks fun to you by a player that you recognize, and just copy it. Just copy it. And if it's something you like, you can keep doing it until you perfect it. If it's something that doesn't make any sense to you, if it's confusing or too hard, you can move on to another build order. That is just one of the things that will help you become a much better StarCraft 2 player. And isn't that all why we are here? Why we exist? I think it is. Z-Man's hatchery doesn't have a rally point on it, which is bad. You want to click the hatchery, right-click on some minerals, and drones that are made here will immediately go back. But there's only a queen defending against this Marine push of Fantasy. Okay, it's a push, but it's late. But I'll take it. Actually, some good kiting from Z-Man. Not just stand straight up fighting against this, but losing the queen anyway. The lings are dead. I think Fantasy, does he just win here? This is crazy. Another queen gonna go down. Sure, a Marine died, but that's a fair trade. 1 Marine for a queen. This queen running, trying. The drones are out. Drones are very good against Marines, especially on creep. Well, I guess not especially on creep. Drones don't get a speed bonus. But in general, drones are very good against Marines that don't have combat shield or any kind of upgrade. These drones are in so much trouble right now, though. Fantasy, get them. Get the drone. Oh, the drone's coming to fight. They have to. They have to fight. Where are the Zerglings? They're in production, but I haven't seen them chasing these guys back. Good kiting on display here from Fantasy. Again, kiting is just where you attack, move back, attack, move back, attack, move back. So you're moving away, not constantly taking damage from your opponent. It works especially well if you're fighting against something that is melee and you are ranged, as is the situation. Oh, lost another Marine there. I'm telling you, drones are really good against unupgraded Marines. Another one gonna die. Oh, got a drone though. So what is that? That is 8 drones down, 2 Lings, 3 Queens, and a Spine Crawler for 8 Marines. That's probably a fair trade. Yeah, Zman 1050. 1,050 resources lost compared to 450 for Fantasy. Now, Fantasy, here's the part of the game, part of the match where you weren't doing much during that attack, were you? No. Nope. I know it's hard. It is hard to micro down here as well as Fantasy was. He was, honestly, for an Into the Void player, microing very well. But you got to be building stuff at the same time. He's building stuff now, but this didn't start until very recently. As you can tell, Slowlings versus Marines and a Hellion, though. Oh, they're not on A move either. Now they're attacking. Too late. Too late. Either, okay, you need to A move your Lings across the map, which means you just press the letter A and right click so they'll attack anything on the way, or you can just move them across the map with your right click, but they're not going to have a great time running past stuff that tries to kill them in the process. I mean, I don't know, they're going to have a bad time, but you know what I mean. They're going to die. All right, so Zman actually walling off against this Terran aggression, which is not generally a great idea because a lot of stuff from Terran is ranged, but if he wants to attack into 2 Spine Crawlers, that's his decision. Nope. Fantasy says, no, you know what? I am not going to do that. 2 Spines and 3 Queens is pretty scary stuff. Queens do have this transfuse ability here. If they have 50 energy, they can throw some of that energy into health, onto anything that Zerg has. Everything's biological. And Spine Crawlers are a good target for that because they have a lot of HP. Checking for a third base is Fantasy. I like this because he's getting a third base of his own. Good timing here, actually. Not bad for Into the Void. 7 minutes for a third base location. It's 28 SCVs, though, out of 48 drones. Zman might just win this thing through sheer attrition, through sheer making more stuff than Fantasy has. Baneling Nest done for the Zerg player, getting double extractor at his natural base. Now, in general, if you've got a third base before your Zerg opponent has a third base, you're in a fantastically strong position, Terran players. You can pull that off, you're in a good spot, but keep in mind, if your opponent's on 2 bases, it might be because they're going for a 2-base timing attack where they cut workers and make a huge army and try to kill you instead of trying to hang with you in the macro game. So keep that in mind. Don't get too smug if your opponent's on 2 bases and you're on 3, because they might be coming to kill you in just a little bit of time. That's where scouting comes in. That's where scans come in. Vikings going for the scout too. Definitely not a bad thing. But in this case, Zman is sitting on 2,500 resources, is making a couple of roaches. Working on, okay, here we go. It's the incredible macro hatch strategy. He recognizes he's not spending his money as fast as he's making it. So he's making 3 macro hatches inside his main base. Okay, what you need to do instead is expand. I know you're afraid. I know the Terran player has an army out there, but you can handle this. There are 6 Marines. 6 Marines and a Hellion. Although most of his army's Queens. Okay, he's got 11 roaches now. You got to push out and expand. If you need this many macro hatches, you need to expand instead. 1 macro hatch is fine. You know what? I honestly feel like 1 macro hatch, especially at this level, is okay. Especially if it's in your main base. But these 2 ones are entirely extraneous, entirely unneeded. It will allow Zman to spend his money a little bit better, which is good. But in the long run, I think it might put him behind. Zman is getting a couple Spore Crawlers at his natural base. He is really worried the Terran player might be going Banshee because he has no idea. Ready for this? Boop! Dark, dark, dark. He does not know what the Terran player is doing at all, which is where scouting comes in. Slow Overlord, scout in. You're probably going to die, but you'll see what's going on. You'll see this factory. You'll see double factory. You'll see a starport with a reactor on it. And say, all right, so probably medevacs, could be Vikings too, although I don't know why Vikings would be a major thing that Fantasy is making, considering I don't have anything that can fly except for Overlords, I guess. And you don't need a huge Viking army to kill Overlords. Zman working on centrifugal hooks, which does speed up the Banelings and give them a little bit more HP. So a Roach Baneling attack here from Zman, or defense possibly, but here comes Fantasy at 10 minutes. He's at 103 supply. For a frame of reference, a really good Terran player can be maxed out at 10 minutes. really good, I mean professional level, so don't feel too bad, but something to aim for, Terran players. All right, here we go. Medevacs healing up. Can these guys Hellbat transformation? They can. They've got an armory. You can transform Hellions into Hellbats if you have the armory built. And a tank here too, so he's going to slow push this thing. That's a lot of Roach from Z-Man, though. That is 29 Roaches. 29. Oh, this tank. I mean, it's a pretty good spot, but they're super outnumbered here, and the tank dies. All right, Marine Marauder with some Hellions. And some medevac support here. I don't know if there is enough for Fantasy to hold this. The Queen's providing a lot of good DPS as well. Taking the medevacs out from the ground. Queens are excellent anti-air, especially in defensive situations. And Z-Man manages to hold. This was sheer Roach Queen. He's been watching Snoop, man. He's got 9 Queens. 9 of them on 2 bases. Who does that? Z-Man. Z-Man, that's who. The good news for Fantasy is he still has his own. He still has his 3rd base. Fantasy is still completely hidden from the opponent, not because he's using cloaking technology or anything sneaky. It's just that Z-Man has no interest in actually attacking. Go figure. Additional factories up for Fantasy. He recognizes he's sitting on to 1,000 resources, and the way to get out of that as Terran is more production facilities and continuing to expand. So double factory here. Mech is good. He has heard that mech is good, especially when your opponent has a lot of roaches. A lot of tanks will eat these guys alive. Yes, that one tank died, but it's because he was outnumbered about 1 to 30 here. And if you're outnumbered that poorly, yeah, 38 roaches. And if you're outnumbered that poorly, even if you're especially considered a counter to that unit, you're still going to die. So Fantasy sitting out here with his medevac. He retreated a small distance, but not all the way home. Which, I don't know, maybe try dropping inside the main, but there are Spore Crawlers and a Spine Crawler here from Z-Man. Infestation Pit and a Spire from Z-Man off of these 2 bases. Off of these 2 bases, which you can do in 4.1.4 a little better than you could in the early days of 4.0.2. They did buff up the mineral field content, the number of crystals in those fields, but I mean, eventually this is going to mine out. Okay, there's your 3rd base. 3rd base coming up for Z-Man. While the 4th base is under construction for Fantasy here down south. He's just expanding down the right side, and I love it. I love what Fantasy is doing. What are you doing for your army, man? It's not a lot. It is somehow not a lot. 2 tanks, 2 Marauders, 6 Marines, and 2 Vikings. And a Thor. And a Thor, as we can see here. Production needs to increase from Fantasy. He's up to 2,500 minerals and 2,000 gas. He's continually having problems. Oops! Try to drop in the main base. Did Fantasy, but all the Queens stopped that. 9 of them. All 9 of them decided that it was their personal responsibility to murder that drop by themselves. And they did. All right, Fantasy, spend your money. You are on 4 bases. You're up 50 to 40 harvesters. You are doing the right things. You're making tanks. You're making Thors. You're getting medevacs for your bio. You're continuing to make Vikings, which I find very confusing. Because there's really nothing that Z-Man's doing that requires Vikings. Oh, Nidus. Nidus. Z-Man's been watching WCS. A 2-base, well, a 3-base. A 3-base Roach Queen Nidus. Okay, I think that's what he's going for, especially with these banelings. It's late, right? Obviously, a professional will do this about, 5 or 6 minutes earlier than this. But this is okay. This is okay out of Z-Man. If you can get a Nidus like right here, I really think Fantasy's in trouble. This army is just not as big as it could be. Okay, he's doing a better job spending his money. He's getting upgrades, Infernal Pre-Igniter, getting some Ravens, getting a Thor, getting a couple Hellbats. All that good stuff. And spending his money, as I mentioned previously, a little bit better. All right, Nidus, you're done. You must do something. If you happen to be a Nidus that doesn't actually even erupt a Nidus Worm at any point, I'm going to be so displeased. So displeased. The most teasing Nidus of all time. All right, Z-Man, do it. Come over here. Give us some vision. And let's do this thing. See where you're going to pop up. Oh, he's not going to do it, is he? He's not going to do it. There's nothing in the Nidus network, unfortunately. You got to put units in there if they're going to pop out. Oh, he's moving this way, though. Man, he is so defensive right now. This is the most defensive Zerg I've ever seen. Oh, he accidentally scouted the construction of a starport, did Z-Man, because that Overlord was scouting this particular corner of the base, and Fantasy decided to build there. Is he? Oh, he knows. Okay, good. He didn't just build a Nidus network and having no idea what it did. Okay, that's great. Oh, battlecruisers. Battlecruisers coming in for fantasy. I'm liking it. I like it very much. This is just... suddenly it's a maxed out army from Z-Man on 3 bases. At 15 minutes, which... okay. Not the worst. Not the worst thing I've ever seen here. Fantasy has a stuck SCV. Hey, bud. I mean... maybe you're not sad you're stuck. Maybe you're happy you don't have to work, right? You're not harvesting minerals nonstop. You're not getting gas nonstop. You're not defending this planetary fortress when it's under attack. You're just hanging out. Doing little... oh, are you flexing? That's cool. Yeah, flex. Flex for your buddies. What are these queens trying to... oh, they're trying to kill that Viking, but they couldn't because there's a wall here. Are you unloading? Wait, Z-Man, no! You're Nidus! Well, that wasn't very nice, was it? No. No, it wasn't. All right, +2 Roach, and a billion Banelings with +2 armor. We're just going for it, but battle cruisers, man. None of this shoots up. The queens aren't coming. They're too slow. Okay, here we go. Good mech army. Tanks, Thors, the Roaches. I think there are just too many, though, for Z-Man. He's getting a nice concave on everything. Yes, a lot of Roaches are dying. 28 of them have gone down, but when you can completely surround your enemy, you're going to win. Battle Cruiser, though, by himself, trying to win this thing. No, 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 Z-Man. No, 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 Z-Man. You can't run. I think he should have pushed. I really think he should have pushed. Yes, he can't kill the Battle Cruiser, but the Battle Cruiser can't kill all of these Roaches before they kill a base or two. In the meantime, he is getting Corruptors. Okay, so Z-Man figures out, I need some anti-air. You know what's really good against battle cruisers? Corruptors. You know why? Because they do bonus damage versus massive flying units. 6 damage per shot extra compared to regulars. So that was a good response from Z-Man. Z-Man knows what he's doing. He's getting a Greater Spire too. Greater Spire coming up. Yes. All right, Roaches. You got your air support. I believe in you right now. Fantasy's making more battle cruisers though. I don't know if 4 battle cruisers versus 6 Corruptors. I think the battle cruisers still win that thing. Fairly certain. Meanwhile, Z-Man is expanding down the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Resources lost in this game are going to be a full 7,700 for Fantasy and 6,300 for Z-Man. So both players have taken their lumps. They've kept on taking. Z-Man not expanding. Expansion timings could use some work, Z-Man. It's cool. 4th base should have come up probably about 5 minutes ago, if not earlier. But that's fine. That is fine. It's into the void. We are learning. Again, build orders. lotv.spawnytool.com. Best place that I know of for that. I don't get paid by them, you guys. I like them. I go there for a lot of the replays that I cast, and they feature my stuff on their page too. So I guess I do kind of get paid by them and through featuring. Actually, the featured replay on their page is really old. I think it's actually, is it early 4.0.2 or even before that? It might be in the previous patch to that one. So I should send them. What should I send them? What replay should I put on the front page of SpawningTool.com by Falcon Paladin? What do you think? Put your comment in the description. What's been your favorite 4.1.4 replay so far? We'll see. All right, battle cruisers. Man, we saw this in yesterday's cast. This is nuts. Battle cruisers in 2 straight casts is interesting. 4 of them. Yes, 4 of them. And I just clicked the cleaning bot. Oh, yes. Hello, Ms. Majamech. Yeah, that's a reference. That's a reference to a player and a caster. Pretty sure. Anyway. All right, man. Let's do this thing. Moving in with the battle cruisers for Fantasy. There's really not much, I guess, queens, right? There's still a lot of queens back here in the main base. For anti-air, the Corruptors are out. Man, Z-Man is being so tentative right now. He still hasn't crossed the halfway point. Like, the halfway point splits across like this. Diagonally, he hasn't crossed this imaginary line right here. I don't know what he's afraid of. Battle cruisers are not afraid, though. They're coming right into your 3rd base, and they're going to wreck all of your dudes. Yamato Cannon on the Spore Crawler doesn't one-shot him, but still does quite a bit of damage. Nevertheless, suddenly drone count plummeting for Z-Man. He's down to 34 compared to 59. Oh, is he counterattacking? Are we going to base race? Oh, here come the Corruptors, though, and the Queens. Corruptors on one side, Queens on the other. Then a tactical jump home. And the Roaches say, ah! Ha! We were going to attack the natural base, but how'd you guys get all the way back here? Well, obviously through interdimensional phase shifting. What do you think? And the roaches are forced to flee. The corruptors are here now. They're here now. Are you going back? Z-Man. Going back. But he's down 59 to 34 harvesters. I don't know if he can do this. I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking probably can't. But hey, that's why we watch, because we don't know. Because we don't know who's going to win, especially in Into the Void, man. I've seen some players absolutely lose games they should have won. More than once, I would say, in my almost 3-year career. This is actually the month that I started casting, but it was late February. My first cast ever was actually Hearthstone. It was a Hearthstone game. I was very boring. I was a really boring caster. If you want to go back and look, just look at the oldest videos in my collection, and it is slow. It is boring. I'm talking in a weird voice. I don't know. This is a pretty weird voice, but it was weirder and less interested. That's because I think StarCraft is my heart, right? StarCraft is my home. I like Hearthstone. I play it especially with my boys who love it now. Good family activity, but StarCraft is where it's at. I get more hyped for this game than anything else at all on the planet, and that's why I cast. That's why I do it every day for you guys. Okay, I've stalled long enough. Z-Man, go. Let's do this thing. 4th base coming up for Z-Man at the 21-minute mark. He is just about 10 minutes behind Fantasy right now, which is not fantastic. Fantasy has a 5th base, but 1 SCV at it, but he's got more coming. I don't know, could be worse. 59 to 32 harvesters. Dude, Z-Man, you are down so much. You are down so much in economy. Oh, he's sky-terraning it. Fantasy, are you sky-terraning it? 6 battlecruisers, 8 battlecruisers, a Raven. Where did my Viking count go? Why am I not seeing this? 13. 13 Vikings with 4 in production. We're sky-terraning it. Okay. I think Fantasy is doing very smart things right now. Where'd my Raven go? Raven, making sure this is 414. Yes, auto turret, interference matrix, and anti-armor missile. Good. Good. We're here. We are here. Hellion checking to see, is there a 4th base for Z-Man yet? By golly, there is. And, oh, the whole army comes back to deal with this one Hellion. Okay, this is something you have to learn. You got to figure out. You can send back just a proportionate response to what's attacking you. And he did. He figured it out, but then grouped up his whole army there anyway. I don't know. He's got some basics down, but a lot of work to do here, Z-Man. All right, ready to go. Ready to go. 5th base in a lot of trouble. Caustic Spray could be used here by the Corruptors. Wait, are we just... Oh, okay. Decided to stop, actually. Okay, good. So 5th base gone. This is +3/+3 roaches from Z-Man. Ay, caramba. Are you base racing it right now? What is... Again, another situation where I feel like... Nope. Z-Man's going to go engage. Z-Man wants to engage in this. And the Corruptors are going to catch the battlecruisers blindsided. Oh, where are the Vikings? We need the Vikings for this. One battlecruiser goes down immediately. Another one here, too. The Corruptors group is so big. It is so big, but can it survive long enough? The roaches are just useless against the Sky Terran army. Viking count is really big right now. Why are you fleeing? No. You got this thing. Oh, the queens. They're trying to get away from the queens. Fair enough. So the Corruptors are dead. And now it's just the queens. It's only... Oh, more Corruptors coming out, though. The slugfest in the middle of the map. Yamato Cannon does fire. But all the battlecruisers are gone, and the Vikings can't deal with this. You can land Vikings. You can kill these guys that are fully upgraded queens. Maybe you can't do that. Roaches wandering on over to the 4th base location of Fantasy. There's a, again, Planetary Fortress, but with as many roaches, it just really doesn't matter. Where are you trying to go? The roaches were given the command to go somewhere, and they can't, and that's why they're just switching around instead of attacking. Okay, now they're attacking. That was very odd from Z-Man. Not sure what he was trying to do there. Either way, additional production facilities by Fantasy are dead, and Z-Man may have taken the upper hand in this. I mean, he's down 42 to 35 harvesters, but he killed 2 bases of Fantasies. He's got this major roach army with, again, no anti-air. You know what would be really good here is Hydras, Z-Man. Hydras would be incredible here. Especially if they had upgrades, but you don't seem to be interested in making those at all. Okay, so, again, mostly a roach army. Oh, I guess there's some swords can kill. All right, so cool. Z-Man decides to retreat instead. All right, dude, that's cool. Got some infestors. We do not usually see investor play in Into the Void. This is interesting from Z-Man. What are you going to do with this thing? Usually, if we do see spellcasters in Into the Void, they die pretty much immediately. So if you get any kills, Infestor, get any important spells off, I'm going to be extremely impressed. Very impressed. So yeah, Z-Man's up 4 bases to 3. He's only down by 3 workers, which is pretty good. Fantasy continuing to make battlecruisers. Z-Man kind of trying to keep up. 4 corruptors, 4 more just got made for a total of 8. Infestor, I don't know what Infestor does in this situation, actually. I'm thinking about it. Fungal growth is pretty useless against this composition that Fantasy has, especially if it's 1 Infestor. If you had a bunch, maybe. Maybe you could chain fungal down the Vikings, but Infested Terran, maybe. That is actually good anti-air, is Infested Terran. But Fantasy deciding to go for the 4th base of Z-Man and get him some revenge. He's going to get it, too. And the hatchery does end up falling. All right. Oh, from the backside, though, Zerg army. Oh, Corruptor's just getting massacred from this one. Roaches trying to do this thing. But, man, alive. The roaches are falling by the dozens, it feels like. There's the Infestor. Are you just A-moving? No, gets a fungal down. Woohoo! Got a fungal down and a single Infested Terran that I think died immediately upon egg process. And the Roach is trying to kill this ground army, but no, it does not happen at all. Oh, there are some blue boards now. Oh, but the Viking count is so high. 21 Vikings. I think Fantasy has this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling it for the Terran player. Caster's Curse, I know, but it's 182 to 48 total supply. This 3rd base of Z-Man is toast. Static defense or no static defense is dead. 4s on the ground. I mean, Fantasy's making additional corruptors, but this, again, as I mentioned, the Viking count is extremely high. So they're not going to be able to do all that much. Z-Man sending his drones to where he could go for another 4th base if he had the minerals for it, but he doesn't. He's got 100. He needs a long-distance mine to get enough for 300 for that hatchery. I don't think it's going to happen. These queens retreating, running for their lives from this battlecruiser and this Thor stuff. Ah, +3 attack on these Thors. Oh, transfuse. See that transfuse? Transfuse went down. Vikings could probably just land here and help, but they're controlling the airspace. That's what they're telling themselves. And that's a good game from Z-Man. Z-Man taps out 27 to 184 supply. Fantasy with a very polite GG as well. Z-Man hasn't actually left, which I've seen games where people say GG when they're in a really terrible spot and they don't leave and then they win. It's crazy, but it happens. I don't know, Z-Man. What are you trying to do here? These drones. These drones are just trying to long-distance mine, and Z-Man's won. I've seen enough, he says. Fantasy wants to keep killing stuff, so I suppose we'll let him do that, but we're going to mute him and wrap this thing up. Ah, fun little TVZ. Z-Man had some stuff figured out, but really struggled in a lot of ways that were discussed. Fantasy 2, good macro, but had a hard time spending his money until he did manage to get a pretty solid little Sky Terran army here. And got the win. Excellent job by Fantasy. Resources lost at the end of the game. 20,000 for Fantasy and a full 30,000 for Z-Man. Yeah, how many roaches died? 97 dead roaches. That's a lot of roach. A lot of roach. 6 Thors went down. 8 battlecruisers died. I mean, Fantasy took his licks too, but he kept on ticking. Kept on coming. And that's all that he needed. Whew. All right, so that's going to be it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload and an edition of Into the Void. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon, all at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.
Broken and ashamed by what you have done. There is no redemption, and so you must run. And it's taken your heart and broken your soul. place you can live. A place you can love. Is it just an illusion? When push comes to shove, there's a light upon you, and you follow it on. Looking for a reason and a way to atone. All around you, the planets and stars. You're lost in a maelstrom of a great new unknown. And you're running into the void. You go searching into the void to find a place you can live. A place you can love. Is it just an illusion? When push comes to shove, and you're running into the void. You go searching